Alright, we're so close to level 50, and we should start looking towards some endgame weapons. Alright, let's see what we can get. Book of Diamond, 600. Damn, that's expensive. Alright, Ironwork, that's a better item. That's the same price, so I guess I would go for Ironwork if anything. Let's check out accessories. That's 280. I mean, I guess that's doable. Actually, how do we even get tomestones? I'm not even done with AAR. I probably should look that up. Alright, how do I get tomestones even though I'm not done with AAR? Let's see. Shit. Alright, let's give it a go. I mean, I only can get one treasure chest per day, but, you know, maybe you'll get a decent amount. Oh no. I don't want to grind no more. This is Jonah Arctis, my no-hit Final Fantasy Challenge Run character. Last episode, we managed to get past the second dungeon, Tamtara Deepcroft. Now we're looking to get past the third dungeon and make our way towards Ifrit. With that being said, let's get started. Alright, so I want to show where I'm actually at with my class professions, because I haven't shown that off in a little while. I'm still using the same battle gear as before, but my professions are all starting to come close to level 50 on pretty much everything outside of blacksmith because I don't really need it. And alchemist has hit level 53, which is pretty awesome. But I head over to the adventure guild to start up the next dungeon, and wait a second. An unfortunate situation at the Copperbell Mines. An ancient clan sealed inside of a mountain where we used to use mind control for slave labor, and you want us to subdue them? You know, like, I'm from the States. We fought a war over this. I don't really think that I can. 800 gil? Shit. Sign me up, small brother man. And after finding this danger to society, we head into the Copperbell Mines. The final dungeon before Ifrit, and the final dungeon before we can get Scholar. But if you're a veteran of Final Fantasy and you haven't played AAR in a while, Copperbell Mines might look a little bit different. That's because they reworked it in 2022, which is a godsend because I don't actually know if I could beat this without the rework. Since there used to be a slime boss that would split into multiple parts and used to require a lot of running around to do, especially solo. Also, if it looks like I'm playing much slower than I normally am, it's because this is my first attempt actually going through Copperbell Mines, and I just don't know what the actual threats are in this dungeon. Like this big dude, I don't know if he has some type of tank buster or one-shot kill potential like the killer bees, just don't know. Also, I am still using high quality buttons in a blanket. They still are the best food for me at this moment. I'm hoping that if I can get past this and get to Ifrit, I'll start working on getting all of my professions up to level 50, as I don't think I'm going to be able to get any better food until then. Alright, and a pretty easy first third of the dungeon. Really nothing overly challenging, just a simple shield and wait strategy. But we get the fire sand, use the detonator, and we find ourselves to the very first boss. And just looking around, I can find that he has these 4 abilities where he'll do a tank buster, he'll jump around, and nothing super crazy. But I couldn't actually find how much HP he has, which is odd. I'm guessing because this is a remake of the dungeon, they haven't updated a lot of the forms. So I just try to prod and pry and see on how much damage I actually need to do. But after a few testing encounters, I get my Aether Flow stacks and my Carbuncle charges, and I decide to give it my first go. And unfortunately I didn't play that first attempt very well, so I learned from my mistakes and I managed to beat it my second try. I definitely wasted quite a few opportunities to do damage that first attempt, running away from those giant AoEs. But after defeating Kotos, we continue to move on, and we go back to our tried and true strategy of tank and spank. Alright, boss number 2. I actually think that this boss would have been a really big potential run killer if it wasn't for the remaster of this dungeon. For the people that don't play Final Fantasy that watch this challenge, this boss used to require you to run back and forth multiple times to grab fire powder, and it would take a lot longer than 30 seconds. And the boss would be immune, you couldn't do damage to it until you got more fire powder. I'm 90% sure this would have killed the run. But I just do some poking and prodding to figure out what this guy actually does. And after a few pokes, I decided to just give it my first attempt and see what happens. And with only a second to spare, we managed to get past this what would have been once a potential run killer of a boss. And on my first try too, which is nice. It's been a while since I've been able just to walk up to a boss and actually beat it my first try. And thank you to everyone who left a book recommendation. I'll leave one myself, and I'll recommend Dungeon Crawler Carl, which has been probably my favorite series I've read in the last year or so, which is a story of a guy and his ex-girlfriend's cat and their adventures trying to survive the end of the world and being on a dangerous alien game show. And with the final mobs dead, we're able to make it to the final boss of this dungeon, and we get ready to put down this uprising. And I start my process of poking and prodding, see what I can get from the boss, and unfortunately, I might not have hit a button that I was supposed to go and hit. That would have been a really silly way of ending the run. So we go back to attempt number 3, and I'm not complaining. It's not like I've had to do this dungeon 97 times like the last one. So fuck it, let's just give it another try, see what we get. And with less than a single second to spare, we managed to beat the third dungeon of Final Fantasy XIV without ever taking damage. And now we can start making our way towards Ifrit. And before we can return to our morally correct employer, we're met with a level sync duty, where we're going to be dropping all the way down to level 21. And watch how fast this fight starts. I'm not speeding up or even slowing it down. This is just how fast this guy starts swinging. And I take damage less than 3 seconds into the duty. I barely get even time to move to the right before this guy ends up swinging, so I'll try moving backwards as I spam the shield button. I was hoping that I would have a little bit more time to get set up. Alright, second attempt didn't go very well, but third attempt, let's give it a try. But third attempt, he kind of stands there for a little bit longer than normal, so I'll take it. And after beating up folks that were half my level, we get an invite from Ystrola to go and meet her friends. We meet Tataru and Minfilia, and I ask her why, if she's the leader of the Scions, why doesn't she have a Magic the Gathering card coming out? And we start doing quests with Thancred, and we eventually get the biggest unlock of the run. We finally get a retainer. I can stop having a full inventory and dropping thousands of gil worth of stuff. And though we have unlocked a retainer, once again, I can't use it to sell anything or trade with other players. I'm just using it to store stuff, and I'm also going to use it to gather some material for me. And we're going to base him off Gene II, who was one of Joan of Arc's best friends and biggest supporters. A guy that was captured in war in the age of 15, and his family paid $75 million to get him back. I'm not a historian, I was just using the wiki page in ChatGTP. Don't quote me on this. Back on the main scenario, we run into one last level sync quest, where we're betrayed by, of course, the Immortal Flames. Who would have guessed it? And we're going to do our best to completely ignore as much as possible and let every NPC die so we fail it and can go to the very easy mode. And I'm not going to lie, I was nervous about this one. I remember watching people play when Endwalker was popping off, and I wasn't 100% sure if it was possible. Luckily, we are completely ignored, and we can go to very easy mode. Now that we're on very easy mode, the goal is simple. We want to keep as many allies alive so that they can act as meat shields for us. And also we want to watch for incoming waves because there's a guaranteed enemy that will come for us at every single wave. And once again, the goal is just to keep my allies alive, and I'm not doing damage because I don't want to bring myself up on the aggro meter, which is why I'm only healing once they get pretty low, as overhealing is going to generate more aggro. And once I deal with my single enemy, I go back to healing. And I'm honestly pretty amazed that we made this level sync event on the first attempt. But we get ambushed, and thankfully it's asleep and it's not a damaging spell, so the run is still saved. Which means that now we have one final fight before we can get Scholar. We have to beat the Bowl of Embers and defeat Ifrit. So now I think we need to get all of our professions up to level 50. We definitely need to get Arcanist level 50. I think we need to get some better gear and maybe some better food before we take on this fight. If you enjoy my videos, please consider liking the video. Please consider subscribing. Either way, I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll leave you with my first attempt of the Ifrit fight.